Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
Championship so close you can taste it.
Oliver Askew has won the Freedom 100.
Side by side. And your new champion, Kirsten Rasmussen.
Welcome back, race fans of the Road to Indy, to Road to Indy TV Live. You're on the pre-show with Parker Thompson and Series Development Director Rob Howden. Rob, we have got quite a race one coming up for Indy Lights. It's been a wild day, tons of action here at Mid-Ohio for the 4th of July weekend. But the big anticipated main series is coming up with Indy Lights.
Big show for Indy Lights. Of course, the driver's just one step away from the NTT IndyCar Series. This Rapato Award, Rinus VeeKay, Colton Herter, Felix Rosenqvist. 9 drivers in tomorrow's IndyCar race coming from 2015 to 2019 in Indy Lights. So we obviously graduating drivers. These next guys will go. It's been a weird weekend so far, though, Parker. I think one of the things about Mid-Ohio, it always has been kind of that race that really kind of pivots the entire season. Something happens here that changes the way the championship plays out, and we saw a lot of stuff happening in practice, in open practice and in the official practice as well.
Well, you've got, number one, the summer swing is coming on here at Mid-Ohio.
Yep.
This is the second half of the season. So the pressure's on for drivers that are in the championship hunt. Pressure's on even more for the guys that aren't and are trying to get themselves back in. But then not to mention, there's just such a precedent on qualifying well here.
Yeah,
you have to emphasize it, and the reason is because it's so tough to pass. So you see guys risking a lap a lot more here than you would elsewhere. We look at practice. Let's go through practice. You watch a guy like Linus Lundqvist crash in both practice sessions.
We had an open practice session yesterday, Friday morning, 90 minutes. Not something we normally do, but was kind of a carryover from our Thursday practice, a 90-minute session for Indy Lights in the morning. And at the end of that, everybody going to their qualifying sims, putting on sticker tires to see how the cars feel. And Linus went off and turned 12, the carousel, off and got into the barriers there. And then later the same day, the very first lap coming out of practice, the official practice session, he goes off in the keyhole, turn number 2 with major damage on the race car. So not something we expected to see out of Linus, I think, especially when we're coming into, like you said, mid-season crunch time.
Well, and it's so tough. You know, it's kind of common knowledge that Linus is on a skinny budget this year. Mm-hmm. You know, they're actively looking for sponsorship. It definitely doesn't help to go out there and bang up a car in 2 practice sessions back-to-back. But you know what? Not only does it hurt the pocketbook, it's got to hurt the ego a little bit.
Well, is it ego and is it mindset for the weekend, too? That's the other thing I keep thinking about. You're in the middle of a championship battle here. You got Kyle Kirkwood, David Malukas, and yourself, Linus Lundqvist, in this fight. All 3 of those guys have to stay mentally focused here if they want to be able to battle out to the end. And you wonder whether or not Linus shaking maybe a little bit. You know, didn't have the best weekend at Road America, lost some points there, and then finds himself in the wall in 2 sessions.
Well, I definitely thought it shook him, but Qualifying 1, qualifying 2, he proved us wrong.
He
He's on second row both times with limited laps around here. I would say that's a pretty good recovery. Now, we get into qualifying 1, which happened yesterday, probably one of the wildest Indy qualifying sessions that I've seen. And the reason I say that, I was standing in the keyhole, I got wet.
Yeah, and I was on pit lane and didn't get wet.
So it started out dry. Everybody went out and did their first set of Cooper Tire stickers. Everybody's in the pit lane kind of switching, and the keyhole, which is down, I would say, half a kilometer away from pit lane, or I guess half a mile.
I'm the Canadian line.
Speaking Canadian here, sorry fans.
And I knew what you were saying.
I got soaked in the keyhole. So you've got all these teams waiting to go out on their second set, low set of fuel. You're waiting to lay it down, and all of a sudden the keyhole's wet.
And we were calling that from I was actually not in the pit lane. I was in the booth. We didn't see any rain up pit lane. It just kind of, I think, sprinkled a bit. We were calling. I said, this is it. If it's going to rain, we're done. Whatever you did in the first half, that's all we got.
And then in common Mid-Ohio fashion, it somehow the wind picked up, the sun came out, and it dried up before, and everybody got the last 2 laps. They set faster times, and we had a great qualifying
Exactly
session.
that, yeah. And again, Kyle Kirkwood stepping up to grab that pole position for race number 1. He'll be on pole alongside David Malukas. So the two guys right in the championship battle starting side by side. I think turn 1, 2, and 4 are going to be really interesting on this opening lap.
You know, it was interesting talking with Kyle and the Andretti Autosport guys coming into this weekend. Mid-Ohio has been their mainstay. It's been the place where they have stabbed a flag into everybody else and said, we're taking hold of the championship. But I have to say, as confident as Kyle was coming into this weekend, I think he was probably a little surprised that Malukas and those guys at Global got as close as they did.
Yeah.
I was. I haven't seen Kyle so confident that he was going to win a race. He basically said qualifying tomorrow is going to be an absolute smash.
We got this.
And I don't know. It was pretty close. You know, you look at Malukas being right there, Linus with no practice, the fact that he was able to be a couple tenths away.
Well, we saw in practice at one point, I think Andretti was 1, 2, 3, 5, and they end up only, 2 and 4.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously with Lundqvist in 5th. So they were actually their 1st and 3rd with Lundqvist and Malukas in 1st and 3rd. Like really kind of mixed things up. You're right. Qualifying was interesting.
And that just shows you how tough Mid-Ohio is. When I say this place changes, I cannot stress it more to the fans that you go out one session and the track is completely different than the next. It's almost, when you're in the debrief room talking with your engineers, it's almost pointless to say what the car did this session because you're anticipating what it's doing to come. And that's where I think Andretti Autosport just has that giant advantage, right? They've got 4 cars in not only Indy Lights, they've got 4 cars in IndyCar. So the place that they're taking their cars, the direction they're taking their cars in IndyCar is trickling down to the guys in Indy Lights. Those guys are talking.
And Kyle mentioned that at Detroit as well. Obviously, we've never been to Detroit at all in the Indy Lights cars, and for him to be able to get some information, not a lot, but get some information from the Andretti IndyCar team, they filtered that down. That happens here at Mid-Ohio as well, for sure.
Well, and it's huge. You look back to Detroit, right? The team has the IndyCar data. They can overlay it with the Indy Lights, all the spec. They already know what gears to run because in Indy Lights, unlike an Indy Pro and an USF 2000, you can choose your gear set. And that is a huge advantage over other teams. So they can actually look at the IndyCar data and go, this is the speed they're traveling at when they go through the IndyCar corner. This is what we're going to estimate the Indy Lights to go through at what speed. And this is the gears we're going to have and run. And that is such an advantage over other Indy Lights teams.
And again, this track, we talked about it, qualifying being so crucial. Here we come from Road America, the last event, where you can win from 6th or 7th on the grid because there's so many overtaking opportunities in the long straightaways with the hard braking. Here, the undulating track, a lot more of a flowy racetrack. It's hard to pass. Truthfully, turn 1 is turn 4 is the only real place to get by. Ideally, push to pass could help with that again today, though.
You bring up an excellent point, Rob. That is the only advantage that Indy Lights has over the other series. Now, the aero wash is probably going to be more, so you're probably going to see through those high-speed corners like Turn 1 and Turn 11. I keep preaching that. It's going to be tougher to get an Indy Lights car behind somebody else because of, A, the weight, big weight on the cars, and B, because of the more downforce. But Indy Lights has the push-to-pass, 50 extra horsepower for 15 seconds. Now, it's funny, this is going to come up in a segment. We're going to segue to a push-to-pass segment before we get Race 1 and Indy Lights underway. Before we get to that, though, we should talk about it a little bit, Rob. It's on for 15 seconds. Not a lot of room here at Mid-Ohio to press that button.
Yeah.
And for the fans at home, once you press that button, there is no taking it back. You don't hit the brake pedal.
It's 50 horsepower.
It's 50 horsepower. If you get through a corner and you're still within that 15-second window, you still have the 50 horsepower, which actually ends up being a disadvantage.
Yeah, because you can't get on the throttle the way you want to.
Can't get on the throttle.
Yeah. Well, let's before we jump into that, let's kind of look at we talked about the guys up front, Malukas and Kirkwood and Lundqvist and Daniel Frost. He'll be on pole for race number 2. Had a really good lap there, but some of the drivers struggling a little bit too. We've been waiting for the breakout, the Toby Sowery breakout to potentially get a win, waiting for Alex Peroni to have that big run. I thought it was going to be at Road America, but of course had some troubles there while running in second. Had an opportunity there, but man, it seems like Carlton's struggling a little bit here this weekend too.
Strange, right?
Yeah.
You know, really strange. And I feel for Toby and I feel for Alex. Mid-Ohio is one of the toughest racetracks. Again, we talk about how much it changes. When you're a two-car team, which if we take Juncos and we take Carlin, they're both a two-car team, one with an experienced teammate, and pretty much they kind of mirror each other, right? You've got Stingray, he's in his rookie year. You've got Christian Bogle, he's in his rookie year. So very similar teams in terms of the driver lineup. It's so tough to come here when you're up against Andretti Autosport and Global, who have got 4 strong cars that are racing at the front, right?
Tough.
They're essentially 2 sessions ahead of you every single time because they've got double the cars.
Yeah, very true when you say that. And it's tough. And again, I'd hope that Peroni would step up. But again, throughout the course of the weekend, maybe he'll find something today, be a little bit quicker tomorrow. You mentioned how much this track changes. Temperature here right now, what, about 70-something degrees? It's going to be in the mid-80s tomorrow. That is going to drastically change this racetrack. So whatever they learned today, they might not even be able to utilize it for tomorrow because the track is going to be so different.
I don't think they will. He touches on a great point. And then we look at IndyCar just qualified. So Indy Lights have not been on the track since IndyCar's qualified. You've had Stadium Super Trucks go out there, put dirt everywhere. So now, you know, what you thought was a passing opportunity is now covered with dirt on the inside of the track. There's so many variables here that keep changing. It's what makes it so exciting on those opening laps. One thing I want to touch on before we cut to the race, though, changes for this weekend. You've got Juncos Racing, obviously. Tim Neff, I don't know if we've covered that yet. Tim Neff no longer with the team.
Yeah, we talked about that in Detroit, that he was no longer with them. But yeah, so that's a big thing for
It
sure.
is a huge thing, right? Ricciardo Juncos is taking over there as the engineer for those 2 cars. It's going to be really interesting. But as we build anticipation to the Indy Lights Race 1 coming up, let's cut to the push-to-pass segment to teach more on how Indy Lights drivers are dealing with passing with push-to-pass and that extra 50 horsepower. Another Road to Indy race weekend and another Talkin' Tech with Thompson. Let's find out what separates Indy Lights from the rest of the Road to Indy. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is push to pass. I'm looking for a veteran racer in Indy Lights to take our fans through what push to pass does to the racing on the Road to Indy. Let's go find him. We're here with Robert McGinnis, a veteran on the Road to Indy. He's covered off USF 2000, Indy Pro 2000, and now he is in Indy Lights. Robert, one of the main differences between those 3 series are the push to pass in Indy Lights and not on the bottom 2 rungs of the Road to Indy. So let's talk push to pass. Let's go through it. First off, how much horsepower does it give and how many times can you use it?
So push to pass, it gives you 50 extra horsepower every time you hit it, but it also moves the limiter within the car, so it allows you to shift later and it gives the engine more power altogether. You get to use it 15 times during the race, and as soon as you hit the button, it's on for 15 seconds straight. So a lot of it is strategy and, you know, figuring out when you need to use the push to pass, using it to get around other drivers. And really the only time you're allowed to use it, or when it will be, you know, activated, is when you're a second and a half behind the car in front. So if you're in the lead, you don't get that advantage. So push to pass is right here on the wheel. So we have this nice orange circle around it, so we know exactly where it is when we're in the race.
So 15 times for 15 seconds for 50 horsepower. Now, just to be clear, I can press this anywhere on the lap.
Yep, anywhere you want. You can press it right before you hit the brakes. You can press it coming out of a corner. I think normally where you want to press it is when you come out of a corner onto a long straight. That gives you a run on the guy in front. You know, maybe you can make a pass on him, and it'll just give you the most advantage to use it down that whole straight.
Take me through the strategy of it. If you're in a dogfight, you're a second and a half behind somebody, and you're a second and a half in front of somebody. Are you using this for defense, just offense? Take me through your game plan.
So, I mean, what you'll want to use it when you get behind another car. You lose a lot of grip, a lot of aero. So it's almost a way to equalize that and be able to stay with the guy in front. So I'll be using it. I'll try to be smart. I've only got those 15 pushes. You want to use them all right at the beginning of the race, but you have to be smart and kind of save a few for the end. So first 3 laps, I'll use some and just kind of stay with the guy in front because I know he'll be using them too. You got to stay within that second and a half range. But then once you settle into the race, you kind of run a little bit, see how everyone's doing, whose tire's falling off, who looks quick, and then you can decide, you know, when do you want to use it to get by the cars in front. But it's so tough to manage. You know, you'll get to races, you'll have none at the end. You'll have people blowing by you. You'll get to races and you'll get to the last 10 laps with, 10 left, and all of a sudden you've got a huge advantage on the guys in front, but you're already that far behind from not using it at the beginning. So a lot of strategy involved in push to pass. So you really do have to be smart of, when you use it and how you save it throughout the race.
Robert, this has been fantastic insight. Thank you very much, and best of luck this weekend using push to pass.
Thanks, Mark.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road of life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. They're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now. Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
Ask any professional race car driver what the most technical racetrack in North America is, and you can guarantee that Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course will make everybody's shortlist. This 13-turn, 2.3-mile road course is the hidden gem of the Midwest. Mid-O, as the kids call it, has been a staple for our Road to Indy Championships for the last decade, and this weekend it will play a vital role to all 3 ladder series as we get the summer swing underway for 2021. The lap here at Mid-Ohio starts with every driver hustling their machines as close to flat as possible through turn 1 at speeds of excess of 120 miles per hour. Next up is turn 2 and the famous keyhole, which sets the run down the back straight into turn 4, which is our biggest braking zone and our best passing zone for this race weekend. Turn 4, 5, and 6 starts the roller coaster back section here at Mid-Ohio that takes rhythm and precision to execute. The roller coaster section continues into turn 9, which is a blind 90-degree corner that takes the utmost trust in drivers' machines and ability in order to navigate through and onto the other side into Thunder Valley. You've got a short time to catch your breath before turn 10 and 11, which has the speed of turn 1, but with the added difficulty of being blind again with no room for air on exit because of the quick transition downhill and into the famous carousel corner at turn 12. Once you've gathered your car up in the carousel, it's a straight shot over the bump and through to turn 13. That's all it takes for a lap here around Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate America's birthday than having the Road to Indy racing in the Midwest. Happy 4th of July to all of our American racing fans, and let's get ready for fireworks on and off the racetrack.
From the Mid-Ohio Sports Car.
Been on the racetrack. So again, down here on pit lane, my name's Rob Howden, the voice of the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires, and we're getting ready to wrap up what's been a tremendous day here of Road to Indy action. USF 2000 Indy Pro already having their first races here of the day in the books. They'll be back again tomorrow. But Indy Lights right behind me. These drivers, 13 of them, just one step away from the NTT IndyCar Series, chasing that scholarship that John talked about, $1.25 million, a guaranteed 3 races next year in 2022, including the Indianapolis 500. 13 drivers set to go. Before we fire them up, let's have a look at the grid. Starting in the 13th position for P. Sarah Racing out of Ontario, Canada, the rookie Antonio Saravalli in the number 11, starting 13th. Row number 6 now on the outside will be Christian Bogle out of Louisiana in the number 7 for Carlin Racing. Rookie driver Bogle, 2 years in USF 2000, making the big jump up to Indy Lights here in 2021 and has had a strong season thus far, learning as much as he can ahead of another program in 2022. Alongside Christian Bogle out of Los Angeles, California, but born in Russia, it is Nikita Lastushkin in the number 59 for HMD Motorsports. Lastushkin starting in the 11th position. In now to the top 10. A couple of very quick drivers on road number 5. Not the qualifying that they wanted to, but there'll be drivers to watch coming from deeper in the field. Starting in the 10th position for Carlin Racing out of Australia, finishing 10th last year in the FIA Formula 3 Championship. That's Alex Peroni, the rookie in the blue number 5, sponsored by Blundstone. He'll start 10th position. Inside of that row, a former winner here in the Indy Lights program, running for Juncos Racing out of England, the number 51 of Toby Sowery. So keep an eye on Sowery in the 51 and Peroni in the number 5. Moving now to row number 4 on the outside, coming off a tremendous weekend at Road America out of Mount Kisco, New York. Robert McGinnis for Andretti Autosport in the number 27, starting in the 8th position, and he'll start alongside last year's winner in the Indy Pro 2000 Championship. He was a victor here at Mid-Ohio as well at Payette, Idaho. It's Stingray Robb in the Juncos Racing number 2, the Road to Indy Scholarship colors on that race car. He'll start in the 7th position. Moving now to row number 3 on the outside. Benjamin Peterson in the number 24 for HMD Motorsports with Global Racing Group. He'll start in that 6th position. Inside of that row, Devlin DeFrancesco in the number 17 for Andretti Steinbrenner Autosport. DeFrancesco, 2nd last year at Indy Pro 2000. That brilliant yellow machine, you'll see it coming around the racetrack in the number 17, starting in the 5th position. We'll go now to row number 2 on the outside. This driver had a tremendous season last year in FR Americas, winning a scholarship to run here in Indy Lights. The Swedish driver Linus Lundqvist, a couple of wins already this year. One of the drivers right in the middle of the championship battle. Lundqvist in the number 27 for HMD Motorsports with Global Racing Group, starting in the 4th position, a 111.729. The fast lap for Lundqvist, one of only 4 drivers able to get below the 112 mark in qualifying for race number 1. Inside of that row, he'll start on the pole tomorrow, but Daniel Frost from Singapore for Andretti Autosport in the Denjet number 68, qualifying 3rd, 2 poles at Road America. He is really starting to pick up some speed here midway through the season, and I would not be surprised to see a victory for Frost before we cap off this season in October. Frost in the 68, starting in 3rd, a 111.652 his fast lap. 13 drivers in the field. We'll put 2 on the front row, and on the off pole, the driver who comes in as the point leader right now in the number 79 machine, David Malukas in the HMD Motorsports machine out of Illinois. Malukas in the 79, a 111.635 his fast lap. He'll be on the outside of the front row, and look for him to dial things in here to try to get yet another victory here as the championship continues to work its way through. 10 races down, 10 to go in the season. The halfway point, elbows up here in Indy Lights. But the driver starting on the pole position here, the all-time Road to Indy win list leader, Kyle Kirkwood out of Jupiter, Florida, 25 wins over his 2.5 years here in the program. USF 2000 champion 2 years ago. 3 years ago, 2 years ago, obviously winning in the Indy Pro 2000 championship. Indy Lights on a hiatus last year, so Kirkwood finally getting a chance to use that scholarship. And the number 28 will be on the pole position. Kyle's had a couple of really strong runs over the last couple of weeks, swept the weekend in Detroit, and this championship is tight. The number 28 machine, a 111.353 in qualifying, 0.3 quicker than David Malukas. He will be on the pole position. Kirkwood and Malukas on row number 1. Frost and Lundqvist on row 2. DeFrancesco and Peterson on row 3. Robb and McGinnis on row 4. Sowery and Peroni on row 5. Lostashkin and Bogle on row 6. And Saravalli on row number 7. Folks, less than a minute away before we fire things up. 450 horsepower behind each one of these drivers as we get ready to fire them up. Dallara IL-15 chassis and Cooper tires all around. 13 drivers set to go for the first race of the doubleheader here at Indy Lights, and it's almost time to fire things up. Joining me down here on pit right now to give us the command to fire, guests from Cooper Tire, obviously the spiritual home of Cooper Tire here at Mid-Ohio. Folks, time to get things underway. As I said, ready to fire these engines up, and to give the command, our guests from Cooper Tire.
Road to Indy drivers, start your engines.
And with that, engines firing up, and we'll send it back to the booth.
Where he is here this afternoon, Jake.
Thank you so much, Nick. You know, it's interesting, between the earlier sessions today and then the moment that we're at now, there has been some overcast sky that has come over. Now, there's no threat of any sort of precipitation, but the track has cooled off just a little bit. It's a left-handed turn that is turn number 1, and then as you talked about, Nick, it's a long sweeping right-hander. Technically, it is all-encompassing, listed as one turn, turn number 2, but realistically, we simply call it the keyhole, and there are plenty of people on the hills around it to watch the action here today. It's interesting because as you take the right-hander down to the bottom of that keyhole area, there's a little bit of an acceleration change or an elevation change downhill that gets you some acceleration, and you've got to be careful to not go too far to the outside of that sweeping right-hander. It's a lot of fun to watch. They go up through the keyhole, then another elevation change. That's when they have to set up for another tricky area of this racetrack, and it is witnessed by Michael Young.
Thank you, Jake Query, and good afternoon, listeners. We welcome you to the beautiful Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course as they make their way through turn number 3. Then they get down to the beginning portion of the S's, and they'll see China Beach, a big runoff area of sand that if the drivers are unable to negotiate turn number 4, they will be able to then use that runoff area, which is a bunch of sand, and then, of course, a tire barrier there. But assuming all the drivers will make it through here safely, they have a tough part of this course to negotiate, and that is a right-hander of turn number 4. The field will then get down into about second gear and go uphill into that left-hander of turn number 5, an elevation change going up about 20 feet. They'll crest the top of that hill and then go down the backside of turn number 5, and then about 200 yards to turn number 6. That's a tight 90-degree right-hander when they will also make their way back up the hill into the second portion of the S's underneath the Honda Bridge. It is a very tricky portion of this course, and Nick Yeoman, if we're going to see any passing, this is probably the spot we're going to see it. it. The field's starting to make their way down into this turn 4 section. Looking forward to a great race and a great afternoon call. As Jake said, the sun sneaking behind the clouds, so things are starting to cool off as Kyle Kirkwood squeaks those tires, trying to chirp and get them warm. Going to be a fun race today.
Davey, Michael talks about one of the best passing points down there in turn 4 after they kind of clear that up and down 4, 5, and 6 section. We get that part of the racetrack where I kind of refer to it as the rhythm section with Thunder Valley and the carousel. Not a lot of places maybe to get alongside, but certainly a lot of places where drivers can make mistakes.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of mistakes, and you got to remember there's 3 blind corners from turn 5 over to turn 9 that you can't see that, you know, what's on the other side of it. And it's usually that curbing comes up very quickly. We've seen, you know, cars slide off an entire weekend, and the conditions haven't been, they've been really good. It's just the track hasn't really gripped up like it has in the past, which is okay. It just makes you have to drive a little bit, you know, harder, or it's a little more out of control, let's put it that way. But it makes it a lot of fun for us, and with the starting line being in turn 3 down that back straightaway, the first lap at turn 4 could be interesting as well.
2 pretty good pit reporters down on pit lane here for round 11 of this 20-race championship. Rob Howden, you've been busy all weekend with the Road to Indy. Maybe something you're watching so far this weekend.
You know, Nick, what I'm liking to see right now is kind of the return here of Andretti Autosport. They obviously struggled a little bit at the start of the season. Well, HMD Motorsports came out with a bang and were really impressive. HMD with Global Racing Group. But this Mid-Ohio track is most definitely one of Andretti. They've had so much success here over the past number of years. We're seeing Kyle Kirkwood show so well. But to see both David Malukas and Linus Lundqvist right up there in 2nd and 4th, a bit of a surprise, I think, to some of the Andretti drivers who were 1, 2, 3, and 5 in testing here coming into the event. So again, look for the Andretti drivers to step up. Kyle Kirkwood looking to potentially try to take this point lead away from David Malukas. We got ourselves a tremendous championship battle, and as you said before, we're halfway through, 10 down, 10 to go. The run to the championship, Joel Sebastianelli, starts here at Mid-Ohio.
Well, Mid-Ohio has been full Andretti in recent years, hasn't it? 5 of the last 6 Indy Lights races here have been won by the team. 2 of them sweeps. Oliver Askew, the last time we were here in 2019, Pato O'Ward a year before that, including Kyle Kirkwood today and Daniel Frost tomorrow. They've had 7 of the last 8 poles captured. So who could break through? You mentioned David Malukas starting 2nd. He's probably going to have to get it done early. He's one of the drivers who echoed to me that it is almost impossible to get anything done on the outside of turn 1. The 2 best passing opportunities at the start are going to be 2 and 4 through the field. I talked to probably 5 or 6 guys, and they all echoed 2 and 4. Guys may be aggressive here at the start.
No doubt about it. Looking forward to it. That's where we've got Jake and Michael positioned for a reason, because those are the hot spots out of this racetrack, and we will see how much these drivers take care of each other. We'll see who's aggressive on the opening lap. Again, 35 laps, plenty of opportunity for these drivers to get some heat in those Cooper tires, dial in those race cars, and maybe charge if qualifying didn't go so well yesterday. But boy, we know how these lights races go. At the beginning, you want to be aggressive. It is Kyle Kirkwood and David Malukas on the front row. Malukas just now pulls to driver's right alongside Kirkwood. They'll make their way out of the final corner. Indy Lights starts on the front straightaway. Toby Sowery pulls out of line further back, but it is Kyle Kirkwood leading him into turn number 1. He'll clear David Malukas. Kirkwood, your leader here on the opening lap out of turn 1 as they head to the keyhole.
All kinds of dust is kicked up in the back of the field, but they're going to go side by side as they move their way into the keyhole. It is Kirkwood. He has just to the outside David Malukas, and it is Kyle Kirkwood that will shut the door as they work their way single file now out of the keyhole. Michael Young, Kirkwood with a car length and a half advantage.
Kyle Kirkwood trying to increase that lead as he makes his way down in turn number 4. Field single file as they make their way in. Kyle Kirkwood, 2 car length advantage over Malukas, then Daniel Frost, and then the machine of Linus Lundqvist in 4th. Everybody clean through turns 4, 5, and 6, and now it's the Kyle Kirkwood machine, about a 3 car length advantage as he makes that right-hander in turn number 6. They're already underneath the Honda Bridge.
They are stacking up further back, but everybody taking care of each other. Davey, that was a spirited try by Malukas, giving everything he had there on that opening lap.
Yeah, really good start. I was expecting to start on the back straightaway. I'm just so used to IndyCar and figured the Road to Indy did the same thing, forgetting that they do start on the front straightaway. Their start-finish line is the same. Good start. Everybody was clean. It was tight racing. But Kirkwood getting out front like he has, and then when we've seen him get out front, he's a hard guy to beat. And right now, he's just pulling out a small lead, almost 1 second by this first lap.
Yep, it is a 1 second, call it 7/10 of a second as they make their way out of turn number 1. Kyle Kirkwood in that blue and silver car. Jake, the advantage is 4 car lengths.
He had said that he wanted to get off to a good start because of the challenge in trying to pass on this racetrack. He got a little bit loose this time as he worked his way out of the keyhole. Malukas, though, was not able to take advantage. As a matter of fact, Michael, that straight line speed, Kirkwood starts to pull away again.
Well, Kirkwood kicked up a little bit of dust as he went into turn number 1. Let's see how he does down here in turn number 4 as David Malukas really starting to put the pressure on. Kyle Kirkwood a 1 car length advantage over Malukas as they climb the hill in turn number 5. Kirkwood already down to the bottom of that hill into turn number 6. He'll sweep through turn number 6 and into turn number 7, and the rest of the S's with a 2 car length advantage.
Malukas gets back in line as they make their way through the S's by about 2 or 3 car lengths behind our race leader, Kyle Kirkwood. Davey, just had a chance to see a couple replays of the start. What did you think? Looked like Robert McGinnis was using up just about as much racetrack.
Yeah, I think what happened, he was going to try to make an outside move on Sowery, and Toby just moved out just so slightly, and they almost touched wheels, but it left McGinnis's right sides out in that dirt. He unfortunately only lost that 1 position. But that could have been in trouble right there. But he drove through very nice.
Kirkwood, Malukas, Frost making their way out of turn number 1. Jake, Daniel Frost hanging with the 2 leaders there out of turn 1.
Yeah, he's trying to keep them in view. As a matter of fact, he's got about a car length and a half to make up on David Malukas. The distance is about twice that between Malukas and the leader, talking about Kirkwood. Everybody now single file, but safely through the keyhole.
Kirkwood, 2 car length advantage over second place, running David Malukas. 2 car lengths back to Daniel Frost. That battle starting to pick up for 4th. It has the machine of Linus Lundqvist and Devlin DeFrancesco. DeFrancesco in 5th, Lundqvist in 4th, trying to track him down. So 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, they're all stacked up. But right now, Kyle Kirkwood about a 2 again through turn number 7.
Yep, David Malukas gives chase with Daniel Frost. Those 3 cars, leaders separated, Davey, by just a couple car lengths. Looks like Malukas using that draft down those long straightaways to keep pace.
I think right now, too, let me see here. Frost, he's got a pole sitter for tomorrow, so keep an eye on him. We know he's fast today. In today's conditions, Nick, he is the guy who was fastest. So I think that he may have a little something for these guys now. Frost hasn't been able to get in victory lane yet. He's looking for it, and so we'll have to see.
It is Kirkwood, Malukas, Frost, Lundqvist, DeFrancesco, the top 5. Let's take a peek at the battle for 5th as Jake Devlin DeFrancesco in that bright yellow car has his rear view mirrors filled up with Benjamin Pedersen.
Pedersen, as a matter of fact, it's almost hard to see Pedersen as they work their way here into the bottom of the keyhole because of the fact that he is so close now to DeFrancesco. He was right on the rear wing. Michael DeFrancesco starts to get a little bit of that distance back, call it 2 car lengths between the 2 of them.
And further back up front, David Malukas took a look to the inside of Kyle Kirkwood, trying to take a peek at that lead. Further back again, that battle for 5th with DeFrancesco in the machine of Benjamin Pedersen. Pedersen about a car length at a disadvantage to Devlin DeFrancesco. Those 2 drivers battling for 5th work their way through turn number 6 and now underneath the Honda Bridge.
Boy, they are slugging it out at the back of the field. We see Stingray Robb moving around, trying to get around Alex Peroni. That's the battle for the 9th position towards the back of the pack, but we've been watching that Global Racing Group car of Benjamin Pedersen looks pretty fast, and he is just 0.2 of a second. In fact, he is all over Devlin DeFrancesco through the carousel by about a car length or 2. They'll make their bend to the left, that final corner of the racetrack, and back out of the front straightaway. DeFrancesco pulls about a car length or 2. They'll quickly hustle those cars into turn number 1. Again, it's the battle for 5th. Devlin DeFrancesco by about 2 car lengths over Pedersen.
Pedersen is waiting to see, Nick, whether or not DeFrancesco is going to have a bobble. Sometimes it comes here at the bottom of the keyhole because there is the ability for the car to step out on you just a little bit. But DeFrancesco does not make any error whatsoever. And again, once they get through that long sweeping right-hander, he starts to pull away just a little bit with that straight line speed over Pedersen.
Yeah, he's got about a 4 car length advantage over Benjamin Pedersen. Now Toby Sowery looking to take over that 6th position. That's Benjamin Pedersen lost ground. DeFrancesco now about a 4 car length advantage over the Benjamin Pedersen machine. But again, that battle for 6th, Nick, starting to heat up.
And the battle at the back of the pack has really kind of spilled over, Davey. We see Nikita Lashiskin in car 59. He's got some wing damage. Looks like he made contact with Stingray Robb.
Yeah, I know, coming off turn 2, he barely got into it, but you can see some damage on the right front wing of his race car. They're battling for that 11th and 12th spot. Saravelli right behind him, but that is definitely going to hinder him. That could cut his own right front tire down. You can see he's losing ground right now, and a chance it could slice Stingray Rob's tire. But man, there's battles everywhere. You know, Nick, we've seen the leader of the race a lot of times just check out, but now it's the first 3 guys somewhat checking out. But from 4th all the way back to that 13th spot, like we talked, there's some battles going on. Really good racing and a little bit of bump and rub as well, as we just talked about.
Yeah, again, it's Lashterskin and Stingray Rob at the back of the pack, and it looked like the contact happened at the exit of the keyhole as they went side by side, and there is definitely a portion, looks like the end plate, the right front side of that front wing damaged for Nikita Lashterskin. We'll see if he can hold on. He's running in the 12th position right now, and Stingray Rob starting to check out on him by about 0.8 of a second as we are on lap 5 of 35 here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. This is the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. Nick Yeoman here alongside Davey Hamilton. Out in the turns, it's Michael Young and Jake Query. Joe Sebastianelli and Rob Howden are down on pit lane. Kyle Kirkwood is your leader, and as he holds the lead, he strikes to within 1 point of David Malukas in the championship. Malukas runs in second. He's 0.8 of a second back. Then it's Daniel Frost, Linus Lundqvist, and Devlin DeFrancesco in the top 5. Leaders already making their way out of turn number 1 and headed to the keyhole once again.
And when they do so, again, Kirkwood is not able to completely get himself free of Malukas. That's not to say that he's threatened just yet, but he gets just a little bit loose through the keyhole, and Malukas finds himself about 20 yards behind him. 1, 2, and 3 pretty evenly spaced.
Yeah, David Malukas about 4 car lengths behind Kyle Kirkwood as they make their way down into turn number 4. Everything starting to settle down ever so slightly as Kyle Kirkwood lets that car swing left side, nearly get out into the grass at the exit of turn number 4. Kyle Kirkwood still about a 4 car length advantage. Boy, David Malukas had a little moment in turn number 5, lost a lot of ground to Kyle Kirkwood there. Kirkwood now to a 6 car length advantage.
Yep, on the stopwatch, it is 0.8 of a second as they make their way underneath the Honda Bridge and head towards Thunder Valley. Malukas is at least keeping pace with Kirkwood. Looks like Daniel Frost may be losing them just a bit, Davey. He is now 1.2 seconds behind Malukas and 1.9 off of the leaders. So we know Frost is quick. He grabbed the pole position for tomorrow's race, but the pace for Kirkwood and Malukas right now seems to be pretty strong.
Yeah, pretty strong right now. Malukas is within that striking distance using the push to pass, so you don't know if he's going to hold on to it, if he's trying to use it right now. We don't have telemetry to tell it how much he has left or what he's been using, but you're right. Frost is slowly backing up a little bit now, 2.1 seconds behind, and so it's down to that 2-horse battle, but it's good to have that 2-horse out there because a lot of times, like we talked earlier on in the season, it's that 1 leader taking off.
Kirkwood, Malukas, Frost, the top 3. Lundqvist is 4th. Devlin DeFrancesco is 5th. Benjamin Pedersen is 6th. Toby Sowery is 7th. Robert McGinnis is 8th. McGinnis right now kind of hounding that Toby Sowery machine as they head down towards the S's. Sowery's going to hold them off, at least for now, but that battle may be pretty good here momentarily for the 7th spot. But McGinnis runs in 8th. Alex Peroni is 9th. Christian Vogel is 10th. Then it's Stingray Rob at 11th. Nikita Lashterskin 12th. And Antonio Saravalli is 13th. Davey, I think most folks can understand the aerodynamics of how that damaged front wing is going to hurt Nikita Lashterskin's car, but is there any concern, do you think, for Stingray Rob? Because it looked like that was front wing to left rear tire contact. Any concern, do you think, for Stingray Rob, knowing that that front wing took a pretty good hit to that tire?
I think that it's okay at this far. Usually it's going to go down faster. Within a couple laps, you'll know if it slides down. It seems like Stingray Rob is keeping his pace, so I think he's okay. But, boy, if you ever wish a nose wing would fall off right now, or the piece would fall off, it's actually Nika, because Nikita it needs to get in his tire. It can cut his own tire.
Yep, so we'll keep an eye on that. Again, those are the drivers at the back of the pack. It is Kyle Kirkwood up front, the advantage 0.7 of a second. And again, this championship battle has just been phenomenal for these drivers. It is Malukas, your points leader, coming into this weekend. Then it's Lundqvist and Kirkwood. And Davey, this is kind of an important weekend because with the way that the schedule kind of reshook midway through, we're going to end the season in Indy Lights at Mid-Ohio. So with 10 races to go, 4 of them taking place right here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. So this kind of a preview of maybe what's to come for a guy like Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah, you know what, and that is, hats off to the Green Savory Promotions. They do a great job. They promote St. Petersburg, where the Indy Lights compete. They do Portland, they do 2 races here, and they're just making up for the one they're not doing in Toronto, but they really back this series, and so it's great to have them, you know, as promoters to say, hey, come on back, let's have another couple of races here. So 4 of the races here, like you said, right here in Mid-Ohio.
So yeah, if someone figures out the setup and gets comfortable with this racetrack, like perhaps Kyle Kirkwood is doing right now, boy, that could have a serious impact on the championship, as those drivers and those points on the line, they're really going to be gunning for it at the end of the season. Again, it's rounds 19 and 20 at the end of the season, right back here at Mid-Ohio. This is a doubleheader weekend, what we're used to for the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. David Malukas and Kyle Kirkwood know these doubleheaders well. They've both scored 4 wins on the season. Linus Lundqvist is the guy who Davey, I think, has to maybe be a little concerned. Just 2 race wins for him, and here over the last couple weeks, it's been Malukas and Lundqvist, or excuse me, Malukas and Kirkwood, who have really been, you know, racking up the race wins. And with the way Lundqvist is going this weekend, right now in the 4th position, you really don't want to see those championship contenders out in front that far.
He's still in the game. He's 3rd in that championship. He's just been 14 points back if the race ended right now. So definitely within striking distance, but if he wants to win this championship, he can't run 4th. I mean, he's got Frost in between him and the 2 guys in front of him in the championship. He needs to get up there, and he is 3 seconds back from Frost. And just Frost, he's 6 seconds back from the leader, so he's got a lot of ground to make up. And he needs to find a little extra pace if he's going to be champion. And I think the nose wing, Latchington's car just came off, which not the whole nose wing, but the piece that was dragging just came off.
Yeah, it was what was it? The right front end plate, or part of that nose, David?
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's an end plate, but it has a flat bottom to it, so it's like an L shaped like off the wing, and it's level with the racetrack. It pulled that part off, and then it was hanging behind in his tire. So good to see he actually got off track a little bit. I don't know if he did it on purpose or not to get rid of it, but it worked.
He is still in that 12th position, about 2 seconds ahead of Antonio Serravalle, but about the only car that has had some damage. And the report is that wing, that part of the wing, might have fallen off in turn number 1. And right now, looks like problems for David Malukas as he is starting to fall. He got passed by Daniel Frost, and now all of a sudden Jake, and they are stacking up behind David Malukas. He's got his teammate Lundqvist all over that rear wing out of turn number 1.
Those front 2 have really separated, and then you take a look at it. Let's look and see what happens to Malukas as he works his way now. He got just a little bit loose entering the keyhole. Lundqvist, though, had the rear end step out just a little bit, so too did DeFrancesco. So right now there's a slight gap there, but it may not be long for Linus Lundqvist.
Saw David Malukas. I think he got off track at the exit of 2 last time by. Now he's falling into the grasp of Linus Lundqvist and the machine of Devlin DeFrancesco. So David Malukas trying to find form again as he works his way through the left-hander of turn number 5, now through turn number 6, able to gap himself over fourth place running Benjamin Pedersen. But indeed, Nick, something happened to that car.
We just saw a replay, Davey. Looked like it was down there in Thunder Valley.
Thunder Valley, that tricky turn 9, but he didn't even get to turn 9 yet. He actually lost it coming off of 8, in between 8 and 9. Somewhere, I've never seen anybody go off that early in the corner, so I don't know what happened. He just overshot it. Fortunately, he didn't get into the tires. He just got in the grass, and that's part of the mistakes that we talked about at the start of the show, Nick, that can happen here. You do force yourself into mistakes trying to make up ground. Now what's happened, he went from 1st in the points to now 2nd in the points. Instead of being 1 ahead, he's 2 behind.
That's all it takes. This championship is so tight that he loses the championship lead with that one mistake. Jake, has he regathered it here in that 3rd position, though?
I would say he is not, because as a matter of fact, the front 2 are really starting to get away. Now, he has managed to hold off Linus Lundqvist, Michael, but Lundqvist is trying to get him back in sights, but it's still about 10 car lengths.
Yeah, it's about, I would say now down to about 4 as they enter turn number 4. David Malukas now just getting the apex of turn number 4, slides those left side tires off. Then Benjamin Pedersen, or excuse me, Linus Lundqvist right behind him. He's now gapped himself from Devlin DeFrancesco, who lost a little bit of ground at the exit of turn number 5. So trying to gather it back up is David Malukas, but boy, did he lose a lot of ground.
Yeah, but the trouble for Malukas is great news for Kyle Kirkwood, not just because of what Davey mentioned, that he takes over the points lead as they run, but the advantage he now has over the second place running car, which was David Malukas at about a second to 1.5 seconds, is now 3.7 back to his teammate Daniel Frost, who vaults his way into the second spot. Malukas will settle down now in the third spot. Linus Lundqvist runs fourth. Devlin DeFrancesco is fifth. Benjamin Pedersen is in sixth. Then it's Sowery, McGinnis, Peroni, and Bogle, the top 10 here on lap 13 of 35 at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. This, of course, the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. It is the top rung of the Road to Indy ladder system designed to train drivers for the NTT IndyCar Series. Of course, the USF 2000 and Indy Pro 2000 Series in action this weekend. And Rob Howden can tell you a little bit more about that action this weekend.
Yeah, Nick, I'll tell you, we've got a great championship battle as you guys are detailing here in the Indy Lights program, but a good one as well in USF 2000. We got a lot of great rookie drivers, but it's been the veterans have really stepped up. And the veteran I'm talking to here today, Kiko Porto, coming off a win today. 32-point lead now. Kiko, you finished second yesterday. You won today. Are you starting to get a little more comfortable with only 6 more races to go?
Yeah, for sure. Mid-Ohio is always very difficult. During all the races, Michael's always very fast behind me. So 32 points is really good for the championship, especially because we don't have a lot of race. So I'm very happy with this. We need to keep pushing for tomorrow, and the last weekend of races here too. So it's very important. We have a good car there, so we are constructing a very good platform for the next weekend here.
Obviously, in the first race, Michael D'Orlando was able to get around the outside in turn 4. You weren't going to let that happen this time. What was the strategy going in, starting on pole? Was it just to try to get out cleanly and get some good laps early?
Yeah, we did some mistakes on the setup for yesterday, so we fixed that. And like the result comes, the car feels really better compared to yesterday. So I only want to say thank you for that D-Force Racing, because the car feels amazing today.
And we talk all about this program, developing young drivers, getting you ready to go to IndyCar. Talk a little bit about how much different it was for you. Your second year in the series with D-Force Racing. How much different are you as a young driver and a young man right now in your second year in the program?
Oh yeah, it's so crazy compared to the first year here to the second one. Like, we changed a lot the style of driving, like automatically. We don't expect this, to be honest, but it's too good. I feel like more confidence and understand more the car during the situations of the weekend, so this is really good.
Kiko, congratulations on a great day today.
Thank you.
Nick Yeoman, that's a Brazilian that you're going to want to know. He's going to follow in the footsteps of some of the great ones. Kiko Porto leading the points by 32 markers in USF 2000.
Yep, did a great job, racing his way here in Mid-Ohio so far this weekend, and going to be one to watch, as Rob talked about. The Brazilian legacy in American open wheel racing cannot be understated. A lot of good ones up and down the ladder and in the history of IndyCar. Of course, we just had a Brazilian, Davey, win a pretty important race in the month of May for Helio Castroneves. We've had a lot of talented Brazilians come to the IndyCar series.
Yeah, we talked about that on the other show with IndyCar qualifying about the Mexican drivers coming up and how many Brazilian drivers we've had come over here and how well they've done. And you look at the winners list at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the Indy 500, where everybody wants to end up. There are quite a few Brazilians, including Kanaan, and now 4-time winner Helio Castroneves.
So Kyle Kirkwood is your race leader with 20 laps to go. His advantage, Davey, has grown to about 4 seconds over Daniel Frost.
Yeah.
And David Malukas, after that mistake, has at least done a nice job of putting a bit of a gap between himself and Linus Lundqvist.
Well, that's, we were hoping for a little closer battle up front, because we've seen in most of the races the leader just takes off. Well, after Malukas made that mistake, that allowed Kirkwood to get that 4-second lead over Frost. So, not what we want to see, but it's good for Kirkwood. If you're in Kirkwood's shoes, you're just taking it easy. And a lot of times when you're in front like that, you usually go faster almost, because you're relaxed, nobody's pressuring you, and it's easier to hit your mark. So I expect him just to continue to check out.
Let's go back to pit lane with 19 laps to go and check in with Joel Sebastianelli.
Well, you guys were talking about legacies a moment ago, and Andretti and Steinbrenner are about two as good as they get in sports. We're here with George Steinbrenner IV. You started in racing in Indy Lights 4 years ago, 2017. What have you learned in the last 4 years?
A whole lot, and not just those years in Lights, but having started in IndyCar in 19, having a few years up there. There's been a lot to learn. There's a lot still to learn, but you know, Andretti Autosport is probably the best place in the paddock to do that, in my opinion, and I've been able to do that for the past now 4 seasons, going on 5. So couldn't be happier, and then to be back in Indy Lights with Devlin is it's good to be back to where it all started.
The driver who helped start it all for you, not just on the business side of things, but as a friend is Colton Herta. What sense of fulfillment do you get seeing how far the two of you have come?
It's awesome. You know, I mean, we were 2 bright-eyed, bushy-tailed teenagers at a Skip Barber race at Lime Rock Park in 2012, thinking, hey, man, wouldn't it be cool to go IndyCar racing one day? And then to somehow be able to make that accomplishment happen was really cool. And obviously to be able to win a few races and continue the success was really, really cool.
So you're keeping an eye on Devlin here. What piques your interest about him and maybe some of the other guys who are in this field?
So with Devlin, you know, we watched him over in Europe for a few years, got to know he and his family in 2019, and we worked out a deal to run lights here last year, but obviously the series shut down, so we ran Indy Pro and finished second in the championship and won a few races and thought it would be good to make the jump into Indy Lights, and so far he's had a pretty consistent season, and he's put in some good performances, so we're looking forward to what he can show us moving forward.
And keeping an eye on IndyCar as well for the 29 team, have you had any discussions about what the future of that will be, and would you give any consideration to anybody in IndyCar? Were you not sticking with the driver you currently have in James Hinchcliffe?
Yeah, I mean, we've always sort of had this philosophy where we're open to anything, you know, whatever makes sense. Obviously, James is our driver right now, and then if that were to continue to be the case, I mean, James has become a friend of mine for the past few years, but we're not sure yet, but we'll figure out, and who knows, it could be 2 cars for who knows, maybe a Steinbrenner Racing, maybe an Andretti Steinbrenner. We don't really know yet. It's only halfway through the season, so once those dominoes start to fall, we'll have a better idea.
Well, you raise an interesting point. Do you see your future then in IndyCar expanding at some point in the near future?
Yeah, it's a possibility. There are opportunities there, whether that's next year, the year after, or the year after that. We're not sure yet, and what it really looks like. We have, again, as I said, a few opportunities at the table that if all of them were to come together, you might see 2 cars with the Steinbrenner name on them. What that means, not sure yet, in what capacity, but and we might only have 1. We're not sure yet, but yeah, we'll see how the rest of the season goes out and how the off season shakes out.
Thank you for your time, George Steinbrenner, of course.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joel and Davey. While maybe those questions can't be answered now, this is a time of year where you better believe behind closed doors a lot of these discussions are being had, not just on the IndyCar side, but with the eyes focused on some of these young talents in Indy Lights of who may be able to move up and ultimately what driver lineups are going to look like in 2022.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it started very, very early, and it kind of starts with his partner, Michael Andretti, the Andretti Autosports Group. There's a little bit of talk about maybe even for them going down to a 3-car team, and you hear Steinbrenner saying, well, maybe we were going to expand and do more. So does that mean it's going to be just a Steinbrenner racing team with maybe an alliance with Andretti? Who knows? Who knows what that's all going to look like? But time will tell. But silly seasons. This is 4th of July weekend, by the way, Nick. 4th of July weekend, and silly season started already. So, usually it was like, the end of August, September before silly season was going. But man, it started early this year.
Why is that, Dave? I mean, is it just all these teams wanting to get a jump on each other? I mean, because you're right. I mean, I've been involved with this sport now for about 12 years, and it seems like every year it's just a little bit earlier when we start hearing these rumors and stories floated out there.
Well, I think the difference is it's very expensive to race these cars, very hard to find sponsorships, and that is the key thing. You have to have funding to be able to do this, and so when funding presents itself, it may change your driver lineup or may change the way you do things just because you need funding to move on and to continue. And I think that's the situation where opportunities is what makes this all happen, and funding's a big part of it.
So with 15 laps to go, Kyle Kirkwood's lead is 4.7 seconds over Daniel Frost. Every lap it grows by just a couple tenths. Frost pretty comfortable in the second position with a nearly 4-second lead over third place running David Malukas. Behind Malukas is where things start to get interesting because they're stacking up for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th on back. It's Linus Lundqvist, Devlin DeFrancesco. They run 4th and 5th. Then it's Benjamin Pedersen, who's got his hands full with Toby Sowery in the battle for 6th. Robert McGinnis runs in 8th. Alex Peroni is 9th. Christian Bogle is 10th. Stingray Robb is in the 11th spot. He's been pushing Christian Bogle here over the last couple laps. Nikita Lashishkin is in the picture in that battle as well in 12th. And then in 13th, it is Antonio Saravalli. We will update you if any of those positions are challenged here again in the last 14 laps. But we're going to go back to pit lane and check in once again with Rob Howden.
Yeah, Nick, you guys talking about funding, and there are a lot of drivers that have been funded for many years through the Road to Indy and the scholarships, and one of those drivers sitting with me right now, last year's USF 2000 champion Christian Rasmussen for J. Howard Driver Development. Obviously winning the championship last year, huge for you. You got that scholarship, able to stay with J. Howard in the Indy Pro 2000, and I'll tell you, it's been a strong season so far. Your 6th win of the season here today, a point lead, pretty solid right now. You could be following on the Kyle Kirkwood deal of, winning and winning and winning. Just tell me today, how good did it feel to get out there and get this victory?
No, it felt amazing, especially knowing that the championship rivals were further back. So it's just maximizing points today, and we did that. 33 points, max points for the first race, and also we have a strong day tomorrow ahead of us, starting P3, and hopefully we can get a lot more points there.
A couple of weeks ago, obviously a big wreck in the opening round at Road America. You got sideways, a couple of guys climbed over top of you. You showed your mental strength, being able to come right back the next day and get the victory. You come back and do it here. Can you talk a little bit, what does momentum mean to you? Obviously you have some of that. You had it last year, you lost it, you picked it back up in the second half of the season. Can you feel the momentum building in your team and yourself?
No, for sure. I mean, momentum is always nice, but at the end of the day, you still got to perform every day. It's like, even though I had the crash at Road America, I still was able to get right back at it at race 2. So momentum is one thing, but I still believe in that you should be able to do it anyways.
Speaking with Christian Rasmussen, point leader in the Indy Pro 2000 category, race win today. He'll be back at it again tomorrow morning. You come out here to talk with me a bit for this interview, and on the racetrack there's Indy Lights. Are you thinking that far forward yet, potentially winning another scholarship, getting a chance to run lights next year?
I mean, that's definitely the goal, getting to Indy Lights. But we'll see what happens. We just have to focus on what we're doing right now with the Indy Pro 2000 with J. Howard, and continue what we've been doing. I think we're on the road to something good here.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
Great win today, Nick, for Christian Rasmussen from J. Howard Driver Development, the Danish driver. 6 wins right now, and right now I believe 18 overall. Right there, kind of chase Kyle Kirkwood for the number of all-time wins. 25 for Kirkwood. He may get his 26th here today, but don't look, he can't sleep on it because Christian Rasmussen, 18 wins in only 1.5 years.
Yeah, he's had a stout season, and as you mentioned, a stout year and a half. And if Kirkwood is destined for IndyCar, you're right, that record may be in jeopardy. Kyle Kirkwood rips a tear off as he's headed down to turn number 4. His lead is 5.3 seconds. Pick up a pretty good battle. It looks to be for the 6th position. Benjamin Pedersen, they're coming out of the keyhole. Now Michael Young and Toby Sowery's giving chase. That got pretty close about a lap ago.
Yeah, they did. Toby Sowery took a look to the inside and wasn't able to make the pass. And when he checked up, he lost about 3 car lengths as they made their way through turn number 5. This time by, as they make their way through turn number 5, he's able to gap it back down to about a car length and a half. But he made a move a moment ago. He's got a fast car, and he's got a lot of push to pass as well. He needs to take advantage of it if he wants to get around the Benjamin Pedersen machine.
Yeah, and Davey, Toby Sowery's a guy we know he can win races, so we've been a little surprised that hasn't been able to kick the door in so far this year and get a race win, but he's showing he's got some speed today.
He has some speed, just can't get over that edge and get right with these front guys. We know he's got the talent. We know Juncos can win races. They have a 2-car effort here with Sowery and Stingray Robb, but today they run 7th and 11th, so just I don't think their cars are quite where they need to be for these drivers to show what they have and for better finishes.
Let's pick up Toby Sowery, Jake. He's headed to the keyhole in turn 2.
Yeah, and when he does so, he again is trying to get right on the rear wing of Pedersen, but Pedersen gets just a little bit of a gap as they exit through the keyhole. This is an area, Michael, where you've got a split second to see if somebody makes a bobble. If they don't, then you got to wait to try to get speed in the area coming to you.
And Toby Sowery is going to take a look to the outside. Can he get alongside Benjamin Pedersen this time? Indeed he does, but they touch wheels, and he will have to fall back into that 7th position. So Benjamin Pedersen will hold off another hard-charging pass by Toby Sowery, unable to complete it. But boy, Nick Gilman, that was a close one down here in turn 4.
Well, Benjamin Pedersen's kind of been Mr. Excitement, David. We saw in Detroit, he worked over Robert McGinnis and made that car as wide as possible, trying to get around. Now, roles reversed. He's kind of trying to defend with Toby Sowery charging here.
Yeah, Sowery has been on him, using that push to pass, obviously, and he's doing a good job of blocking the racetrack. Now, you know, they have not a rule, but I know that you're supposed to make one move, rather to the right or left to block, and if you make a couple, that's a no-no. But they tried it down in turn 4. Sowery got way out in that loose stuff where the marbles are accumulating and just lost his momentum. Wasn't able to make that pass.
Jake, looks like Sowery's trying to set him back up down to the keyhole.
Well, I'll tell you what, Sowery is right on his rear wing. But again, as they make their loop through the keyhole, then all of a sudden Pedersen gets himself a little bit of breathing room. But Sowery now, as they work their way into turn number 4, Michael, he's going to take another look again.
He will look on that push to pass. He'll swing to the outside. This time he's got a further run into the turn. He will be able to go side by side. Benjamin Pedersen will bobble ever so slightly. That will allow Toby Sowery to go around. Sowery now about a 2-car length advantage over Benjamin Pedersen. So move Toby Sowery up to that 6th position as he makes his way through turn 7.
That was a great pass by Sowery into turn number 4, Davey, to get around him on the outside.
That's what it takes right there. We see Sowery, this car, and let back into that car, very loose, but he did what he had to do to make that pass. And that's the Sowery that we know he can get the job done, and he drove the heck out of that race car, made a great pass, moves himself into that 6th spot.
Yep, and Pedersen may not be done because Robert McGinnis is right there within striking distance. We'll see if McGinnis, within a lap, maybe 2, can get up there and challenge for the 7th position. Just saw Antonio Serravalle. He's been running 13th, Joel Sebastianelli, and it looks like he's brought that car to pit lane.
Going to work on the left rear. He's up on the jack. They say they have a handling issue, so a rough day, getting rougher for the 11 machine.
Yep, looks like Antonio Serravalle probably going to finish in the 13th position. How about Robert McGinnis? He is charging towards the back of Benjamin Pedersen's car, Michael, as they head down to turn 4.
Yeah, he'll get that Sirius machine into about 2 car lengths beneath the rear wing of that Benjamin Pedersen and Global Racing machine. Global Racing driver Benjamin Pedersen now holding him off ever so slightly. We'll see what happens in the next lap or so. But like you said, Nick, I think it's going to take him a lap or 2 to be able to get close enough to make that pass.
Yep, it takes a little time, especially when you get close enough within 1.5 seconds. That's when these drivers can have access to a little extra horsepower. We call it push to pass. It's an opportunity for a driver to attack. You cannot use it to defend unless the car in front of you is within 1.5 seconds, which for Pedersen right now, that is the case, as he again got passed by Toby Sowery. Let's take again a look at that battle as those drivers all trying to chase Devlin DeFrancesco. Sowery is out of turn 1, but here comes Robert McGinnis, Jake. He's looking for 7th around Benjamin Pedersen.
And Robert McGinnis comes to an area in the racetrack where 2 circuits ago he locked him up just a little bit. He can't afford to do that now if he wants to try to get on Pedersen, who got just a little bit loose moving through the keyhole, but McGinnis is not able to make up that ground. Pedersen has himself about a 15-yard advantage.
Just a couple of weeks ago, Robert McGinnis made a little firework of his own as he makes a charge down low. Will not be able to get underneath Benjamin Pedersen into the turn, but Robert McGinnis starting to get that fiery driving attitude back that he had last year. I'm really confused on what happened to him in this 2021 campaign, but we really have seen these last couple of races, especially in Road of America, him starting to make these great moves again. So a nice try down here in turn number 4 for Robert McGinnis.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair point, Michael. I think a lot of people looked at Robert McGinnis as a potential championship contender heading into this season because of the experience, and it just simply hasn't happened. Again, if he's trying to pressure Benjamin Pedersen, it's for the 7th position, and if this battle kind of mirrors what we saw between Sowery took a look, wasn't able to get it, and then a lap later pulled off the pass. We'll see if Robert McGinnis can follow that trend. Out of turn number 1, he's about 4 car lengths behind Benjamin Pedersen back to the keyhole.
Again, he is going to try to take a... Boy, he locked him up, and that allowed McGinnis has to swing wide. Pedersen's going to get some breathing room there. Robert McGinnis really did a nice job saving that, but he absolutely locked him up entering the keyhole. Now he's going to try to take another look at Pedersen exiting the keyhole.
Yeah, he's right in his tire tracks. He'll take a look to the outside this time, does Robert McGinnis, and he'll do the over-under, try to tuck to the inside of Benjamin Pedersen. He will then check that car up, lose about 2 car lengths as Benjamin Pedersen crests the hill in turn number 5. That'll allow Robert McGinnis to close back within about 2 car lengths or so, but starting to get a little aggressive down here is Robert McGinnis in turn number 4.
Tell you what, Davey, we've all been to a lot of racetracks, and that run down to turn 4, whether it's an IndyCar, Indy Lights, any of these series in the road to Indy, that has become one of my favorite corners in all of racing, because you really get to see who's brave and who's got the so-called testicular fortitude to stick it side by side. We're seeing some good battles down there.
Great battles, and like I said, the best passing zone of this facility, and it can be risky at times when you see the blocking. Even guys, that's one corner you can make the outside work, where usually the guy would try to block that inside, but anymore that outside lane seems to be so good. If they don't get pushed off, they can complete the pass, where we just seen Sowery do that earlier on.
Up front, Kyle Kirkwood's not having to push very much, but even still, his lead has now grown to 6.8 seconds over Daniel Frost. The driver from the Singapore runs in that 2nd spot. He is all by himself. David Malukas runs in 3rd. If you're just joining us, Malukas had a bit of an off and threw away the 2nd place position, but Malukas is settled in 3rd, 10.5 seconds back. Then it is Linus Lundqvist, another one of our championship contenders. He runs in 4th, about a 2nd ahead of Devlin DeFrancesco, who holds down the final spot in the top 5. And that's where you get to where most of the action has been for the majority of this race. Toby Sowery runs in 6th. He is pulled away from Benjamin Pedersen after making a pass a few laps ago. Pedersen runs in 7th. His advantage over Robert McGinnis is less than a 2nd. McGinnis runs in 8th. Alex Peroni is 9th. Christian Bogle is in 10th. Christian Bogle, Stingray Robb have been throwing haymakers at each other at the back of the field for most of today. They run 10th and 11th, and then it's Nikita Lashiskin who runs in 12th. Antonio Saravalli now 6 laps down, as Joel Sebastianelli reported that he is having mechanical issues, grip issues for that car of Antonio Saravalli. And looks like, though, Joel, he's going to get that car back on the racetrack. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, he's just pulled out of the pits, so 6 laps down can't hurt to rejoin, but it hurts to lose that much time and be running in the back with the car handling the way it is.
Yep, so it'll be 5 laps of kind of testing for Antonio Saravalli, because, again, Davey, we're going to do this tomorrow, and the track conditions going to be much different. Again, a 4:20 Eastern time start to this race. Tomorrow, get your coffee ready, brother. We're at 9:50 a.m. We'll go racing once again for Indy Lights.
9:50, and one thing that this track does is it's hard to find grip in the mornings. It just seems that the dew that gets on this track, it makes it wet. It makes it torturous because there's rubber on the track, that moisture gets on top of it, and really makes it ice skating ring. So it's going to be a completely different racetrack for these drivers in the morning. So we'll see. It's supposed to be warmer tomorrow than it is today. Maybe that sun will pop out and dry that track off, but I will assure you, conditions will be somewhat different.
And Rob, it's not like for those at Mid-Ohio, they're not going to wake up to Indy Lights tomorrow, right? There's going to be plenty of track activity.
Yeah, 8:35 in the morning, the campers will be getting their coffee because USF 2000 will be out first for their 3rd race of the weekend, followed by Indy Pro and then Indy Lights. So a full menu of Road to Indy races for the drivers and the teams and all the fans as they enjoy their breakfast here at Mid-Ohio.
It's an early morning, but Davey, I think we're all kind of in agreement. I mean, we're going to take the airtime for the IndyCar show at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, and what a great, early start time. So good for folks in the Midwest, whether they're going to make their way back to Indiana or to Michigan or to Tennessee, to have an early race time for the IndyCar series. I think that's pretty positive.
Yeah, and to have an early race time and a day of racing, starting first thing in the morning all the way through IndyCar and finishing up with Robbie Gordon's SST Truck Series. So these fans have a full day, but then like you just said, still have opportunity to get home.
Nothing exciting happened in that stadium truck race, right? By the way.
Well, there was. It could make a few networks a little entertainment after the event. It's pretty entertaining. And one thing you always in motorsports, if you're gonna get in a fight, do not take your helmet off. There was a mistake made there. Once he took that helmet off, I don't know if you noticed, but it got destroyed. Let's just put it that way.
If you haven't seen it, I guarantee you will, because I have a feeling that clip is going to go viral all across the internet. And yeah, we'll leave it at that. You'll see it eventually. Here at Indy Lights, 3 laps to go. Let's go back to pit lane, Rob Howden.
Well, you guys are talking about, I haven't seen this video yet, but I'm watching Michael Andretti and JF Thurman from Andretti Autosport. They're watching it right now. Checking it out here on pit lane. So yeah, a little excitement in the stadium super trucks.
So you're saying, Rob, that they're not very concerned about their driver Kyle Kirkwood out front right now with 3 laps to go?
I believe you could make that assumption, Nick. Correct.
It is a 7.3 second advantage. And yeah, Rob, if you want to go check out that video before we go to pit lane or go to victory lane, I'm not going to fault you, because it is some interesting stuff. But up front, Kyle Kirkwood, it has been a nice Saturday cruise for him after David Malukas made the mistake and got off the racetrack. Really in the first 10 laps of this race, the remaining 25 have just been dominated by Kyle Kirkwood. Daniel Frost, a really nice charge. He is poised, if he can hold on here with 2 laps to go, for a career best second place finish. But boy, Kyle Kirkwood is in his own area code. And Michael, he's heading down to you in turn 4 here with just 2 laps to go.
Yeah, he's been in his own zip code, throwing his own haymakers. And if you want to talk about that video, steering wheels and fire extinguishers, he's got it all in control here as he makes his way through turn number 5. But Kyle Kirkwood, just an impressive drive all day today. And once we saw David Malukas have that off, he has just taken it on cruise control. It's been an impressive drive, a potential 5-time winner here in 2021.
Yeah, he has been so strong, not only this season, but really good over the years at Mid-Ohio in his road to Indy career. It is Kyle Kirkwood. Jupiter, Florida is where he calls home. That car has silver side pods, and the rear engine cowling is blue. He makes his way out of the final corner. He will see the white flag. Final lap for Kyle Kirkwood in a dominant performance. Jake, he streaks out of turn number 1.
And when he comes into view off of turn number 1, he does so setting up for the keyhole. Literally is the only car in view on the racetrack. At the bottom of the keyhole now goes Kyle Kirkwood. He got just a little bit loose exiting the keyhole, but the reality is, Michael Young, as he comes into your view, his advantage over Frost is massive, and now he comes all by his lonesome into turn number 4.
About 200 feet until he hits turn number 4 for the final time, our first 5-time winner of 2021. If he can keep it together for the rest of this lap, Kyle Kirkwood has been impressive thus far this season. Nick Yeoman, bring him home. An impressive run on the day before the July 4th holiday.
Yep, again, as we mentioned, an All-American front row, both in Indy Lights and in IndyCar for tomorrow's race, the Honda Indy 200. Kyle Kirkwood certainly looks like he'll be racing in Honda Indy 200s in the very near future. As Michael talked about, 4 wins on the season. And as he holds on in these last couple corners, he's going to take over the points lead out of the final corner at Mid-Ohio. A dominant performance. Kyle Kirkwood wins round 11 of the 2021 Indy Lights Championship. He scores the victory here at Mid-Ohio. Kirkwood's advantage, 7.9 seconds. Well, it's down to 6.8 as he took it easy off of the final corner. Daniel Frost is going to get a career best 2nd place finish across the line in P2. And then it's David Malukas. Malukas comes home in the 3rd spot. He will lose the points lead. Final running order as they all cross the start-finish line. Linus Lundqvist is going to come home in 4th. Devlin DeFrancesco in 5th. Toby Sowery will finish in the 6th position. Then it's Benjamin Pedersen. Pedersen does a really nice job over the last couple laps to hold on to that 7th position as he had a 0.6 of a second gap over Robert McGinnis. McGinnis finishes in 8th. Alex Peroni 9th. Christian Bogle is 10th. Stingray Robb is 11th. Nikita Lasterskin will finish in 12th. And then Antonio Serravalle, who got back out of the racetrack, finishes 6 laps down in 13th. And Davey just continued to be impressed by Kyle Kirkwood. You know, Michael Andretti kind of teased that there may be some changes at the IndyCar Series driver lineup, and Kyle Kirkwood's going to put the pressure on Michael Andretti in terms of what that decision may be, because he is stout with his 5th win of the season.
Yeah, without a doubt. And we talked to Michael actually a few races ago, and I think it was even at maybe his 2nd or maybe his 3rd win, how he really felt he was ready for IndyCar right now. So Kirkwood, that's where he wants to go. It looks like he has a really good opportunity to get that scholarship. Is it going to go to Andretti? Is he going to stay in that camp? Because obviously this kid's special. He has something that is really, really good, and he's getting the most out of it, and he wants to be an IndyCar.
I think there's going to be a lot of teams looking at him. He has also been running in IMSA with Jimmy Vasser and Sully Sullivan's group, in the IMSA and their sports car series. So I think there's just a lot of people in a lot of paddocks that are very high on Kyle Kirkwood. And indeed, if he can take that prize money that's north of $1 million in the scholarship and take it to the IndyCar series, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities and a lot of doors being knocked on for Kyle Kirkwood. He certainly seems poised for the IndyCar series. Davey, a couple notes on the other drivers that will make up the podium. Great run for Daniel Frost to finish in the 2nd position, and we know he's got a chance to get that first career win tomorrow starting on the pole.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he got 2nd today. I mean, he can get it done if he can get out in front. Can he keep Kirkwood behind? And we'll wait and see, but good opportunity for him. Malukas also had a good run, just made that one mistake, and when you go off course like that, as competitive as Kirkwood is, you're not going to win the race. So it's going to be another great race tomorrow. Lundqvist finds himself in that 4th position. Needs to continue to find that little bit, dig a little deeper. It's 3rd place in the championship, but he wants better than that.
All right,
take
Davey,
over the points lead.
Yeah, I mean, we had that not so terrific race at Road America. It was our last race, and it's really nice to get this win right here. Mid-Ohio is one of my favorite places. We knew we were going to be really strong here. We came here and did 2 test days between 2 days ago and another test about a month ago, and we felt really good. That was a perfect race. David definitely kept me on my toes there for the first about 10 laps. The track was so loose, and as the track started getting some grip, we started to get some pace, and I just felt confident. I saw David made a small mistake there in turn 9. But no, it worked out perfectly. Andretti's cars have just been absolutely on rails for the past 3 weekends, and we're going to try and keep it that way.
Congratulations, Kyle.
Good day for Kyle Kirkwood. Fireworks coming up later, and if you're watching...
In fact,
great to hear from Kyle.
Victory Lane, and Rob Howden standing by with a man he's talked to 5 times this year in Victory Lane.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Probably 26 times over the career here I've had a chance to talk to this guy in Victory Lane because he is the all-time winner. 4 wins in the last 5 races. Danny Anderson and Chris Pantier from Cooper Tire coming in, Kyle. This feels to me like one of those streaks you did in USF 2000 Indy Pro where you start getting some rolling, getting some momentum going, and start winning a lot of races.
Yeah, I really feel like this should be our 5th win in a row. We had that mechanical in the last race at Road America when we felt like we should have won. So to get this one here now is just, we're back on the roll. It feels really good. We knew we were going to be really good here at Mid-Ohio. Got the pole, got 2nd next to my teammate for tomorrow in the 2nd race. So, I mean, absolutely stoked. I couldn't be happier with this outcome. We're doing so good now. I think we took back the lead, which is really good after having that 10th place finish in that last race at Road America. So no, it's all working out. Everything's clicking.
This is a really tough racetrack. We know that. Hard to pass. Qualifying pole was really good for you. How good was the race car out there today?
The race car was fantastic. I mean, the second qualifying, man, the HMD cars seemed really good initially, and then it was us on the second run with 2nd set of tires. But our race pace is phenomenal, as I think it showed there. We were able to just keep going faster and faster, and I felt like I was actually holding some back there. So feeling confident for tomorrow's race.
You take the point lead. Do you start thinking about the championship at all? We're only at the halfway point, or is it just win, win, win?
I mean, we've got some good weekends coming ahead of us. I know this weekend is obviously good for us. We've got another round here at the end of the season, which definitely does not hurt with how good we've been doing. Andretti's done good at St. Louis, Portland, and I feel like we've got the car in a really good place for Laguna. So I think we got some good weekends ahead of us, including this one.
Congrats on the win.
Thank you.
Kyle Kirkwood, guys, taking over the point lead. Joel Sebastianelli, very impressive. You're standing by with one of our top 3 drivers as well.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get when you interview the driver who finishes in 2nd. Sometimes it's kind of disappointing, and sometimes you get what you get today, a driver who's smiling from ear to ear when he gets out of the car. tying your best finish this season. Second at St. Pete, second today, Daniel Frost. How do you feel about today's drive?
Yeah, I feel really good, honestly. I think that was the maximum we could have gotten out of the car and position-wise. I mean, I think Kyle did a great job to manage his gap from me. I gave it what I could, and I think that we could maybe challenge him for tomorrow, but I think today was going to be hard. Track positions, everything here, so yeah, I'm just static for a second, made a position from the start, so it was a good race for me.
Well, if we include tomorrow, 3 of the last 4 poles you've conquered. So do you think tomorrow is the day you get it done?
I hope so. I really hope so. I've been hoping for that day to come very soon, and I think it's going to come sooner than I expect. So hopefully tomorrow is the day.
All right, we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. Rob Howden is with the driver who finished in 3rd.
Yeah, coming home P3 today, David Malukas. David, you had a good run there, putting some pressure on Kyle early, able to use that push to pass, but then we saw it on the TV. A little issue over there in turn number 9. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, this track is tough to pass, and Kyle definitely made me push. I was pushing, everything felt great, and all of a sudden I go into 2, and I think I went offline a little bit into 4, offline into 5, and going into 9, you know, another high-speed corner, I think the rear just kind of picked up a lot of dust and just gave out, and it just had a big moment, and I lifted, and it just never really came back, went over the crest, and I was like, well, looks like now I just got to try to save and not hit the wall. So it was unfortunate, but like I said, it could have gone worse. We saved it, and we ended up with the P3. I'm really happy. I'm going to talk with the guys, see what we can do with the setup going into tomorrow, but yeah, I'm all heads up.
And good luck on Sunday.
Thank you.
There he is, Nick Yeoman, David Malukas, P3.
Yep, it's Malukas Frost on the podium along with race winner Kyle Kirkwood. Again, we will talk to you tomorrow at 9:50 Eastern Time. Great job by the entire crew, as well as those behind the scenes with on-site production and engineering at Mid-Ohio with Rick Evans, in Indianapolis with Sam Rumsa, and our network general manager, Chris Pollock. My name's Nick Yeoman. Congratulations, Kyle Kirkwood, your winner in Indy Lights here on this race day Saturday at Mid-Ohio.
Rob down at the Tatus Victory Circle. Rob, ready for the podium celebration.
John, thank you so much. Indeed, the top 3 drivers from Indy Lights getting ready to join me up here on the podium in this championship. Again, just getting into the second half. We're going to have a tremendous battle all the way through to the final race of the season. Let's bring the drivers up who made it to the podium here today. Coming home in 3rd spot from HMD Motorsports, David Malukas, P3. We'll get the trophy presentation. We're back at it, David. We're back to old school. We've got our trophy presentations here. Guests from Cooper Tires coming to help us provide trophies. Of course, in COVID, we had the trophies waiting for the drivers when they got to the podium, and David was wondering where the hardware was. Got his 3rd place trophy here, and you know David will be fighting to get back into the top of the box tomorrow. Finishing in a second, we're seeing a lot of momentum for this young driver from Singapore, folks. Again, as he was told in the interview with IndyCar Radio, 3 of the last 4 pole positions going to this driver. He's on the podium here in second. Put your hands together for second place finisher, Daniel Frost from Andretti Autosports, P2. One more spot on the podium, and this championship has gone back and forth. Let's bring that second place trophy in as well for Daniel Frost, but this championship going back and forth, different guys leading up front. It's been exciting. And another new leader here this particular weekend. Final spot on the podium. This guy was able to get out front. He's not going to start P1 tomorrow, but today he is P1. He'll be on top of the box, folks. The winner today, your new point leader in Indy Lights, Andretti Autosport, Kyle Kirkwood. Kyle to jump up on the podium there. We'll bring that first place trophy in. 4 wins in the last 5 races for Kyle Kirkwood. A DNF or an issue with a mechanical part at Road America in race number 2. Thwarted what could have been 5 for 5. He's on a momentum roll here right now. Former USF 2000 champion, former Indy Pro 2000 champion, trying to be the first man in the history of the road to Indy to win all 3 scholarships and championships to move his way to the NTT IndyCar Series. But as I say, anytime we have one of our podiums here in Indy Lights, this is the future of the NTT IndyCar Series. These are the drivers that you're going to see running in the big events in the next number of years, maybe even as early as 2022, because our champion is going to win a scholarship for at least 3 races next year, including the Indianapolis 500. And again, some tremendous drivers here in this particular program. A lot of guests here this weekend as part of Cooper Tire. Good to have our Cooper Tire partnership here at the spiritual home of the Cooper Tire program. Of course, the offices and the headquarters just in nearby Findlay, Ohio. So a lot of guests here are part of the Cooper Tire program. Brand new Cooper Tire Pavilion getting unveiled in turn number 1 here for this weekend with the IndyCar program. Of course, the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. So again, these are the drivers that we're going to see, the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series, and looking forward to seeing who gets that championship when it's all said and done. So trophies will go down, folks. Champagne will come up, and it's time to celebrate today's action. They're going at it hard. Champagne going. Kyle Kirkwood doing a good job avoiding it there as well. Malukas is going right after Frost. That's a full bottle right down the back of Frost. Oh, that's rough. Well, folks, good. Hey, one more time, if you're down here at the podium, with a round of applause for my top 3 in Indy Lights, David Malukas, Daniel Frost, and your new point leader, Kyle Kirkwood.
Thanks, Rob Howden. Great race. Looking forward to more of the same tomorrow. Making preparations for the eve of the 4th of July celebration here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Movie night coming up at 7:30 this evening. Those of you in the campgrounds, be ready in about 15 minutes now as the Honda Drivers Parade with Graham Rahal.
Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road of life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
Welcome back, race fans, to Road to Indy TV Live. We are on the post show with Race 1 Indy Lights winner Kyle Kirkwood. I'm your host, Parker Thompson. Kyle, I'm kind of getting tired of talking to you, if I'm honest. I mean, you got to let some other Indy Lights drivers come up and talk to me here in the Cooper Tires booth. Was that as easy as it looked again?
No, it wasn't so easy at the beginning. At the beginning, it was actually quite tough because the track was super green, meaning it just felt very loose. I don't know if it was IndyCar rubber or what it was, but the track, we were just unbelievably loose. So I'm the first one in, so everyone can kind of predict what the car is going to do. It's unlike it's been the entire weekend. And David can kind of predict what's going to happen with the car just watching mine. And so he was using a lot of pushes. He was keeping me on my toes. He was, within a car length, I think, for a few laps there. And then he ended up making a mistake and going off at 9. And then from there on out, it was about, I think, over a 4-second gap. And I just kept stretching it little by little. It was pretty comfortable, to be honest, out front.
Such a hard life, just kept stretching a gap. But well done. It's not as easy as you made it look. Obviously, Mid-Ohio has been a pretty big track for your career. I mean, we talk about Road America up until race 2 in Indy Lights. You hadn't lost a Road to Indy race at Road America.
Yep.
Mid-Ohio, much of the same.
Yeah, I think it was 5 races in a row at Road America, and it's 5 races in a row here. Hopefully that's not the same trend as Road America. But, no, this is my favorite track on the schedule. Road America actually isn't. So Road America is, I feel like I've never been that good there, to be honest, because we've never gotten a pole there. I feel like here I'm more likely to get poles. I got 2 poles and 2 wins in Indy Pro 2000 presented by Cooper Tires. So here we've kind of done the same thing, but that second qualifying this morning was actually not ideal conditions. Kind of placement. I was stuck behind a driver that was actually went off track twice in 2 laps and drug dirt in front of me. So I think that 10th that I lost was easily within where I lost it in the dirt there.
It was within reach. I'm looking forward to it, though, watching you start second. That'll actually make you work for it a little bit.
Sure will. Should
be good. You've got your teammate Daniel Frost. Now, Daniel was running second in this race. For the most part, those Andretti cars working pretty good for you?
Yeah, they're exceptional. For some reason here, Andretti's just super strong. They were super strong here with Oliver, really strong with Pato and Colton. There's something that they've got here on the setup. I'm not sure what it is. I can't tell you if I did know, but no, we're just so strong. I don't know what it is.
One thing I was curious, and I thought it helped a lot, but you'll be the man to tell us the truth. Does Andretti Autosport having an IndyCar team parlay into their Indy Lights team? Are you getting information from the IndyCar guys as to what the track is doing, the evolution?
Yeah, I talk to Ryan before each of the sessions. You try and go to one person. That way it's not all different information every single time. So Ryan was like, oh, it was pretty understeery and I think the last practice. But then, sorry, not the last practice, the practice before qualifying. And then I went and talked to him after practice, and he's like, it's just super loose. So I was like, okay, good to know. And lo and behold, it was super loose out there, like massively. We were 3 seconds off of initially 3 to 4 seconds off what we were doing qualifying. So it goes to show how green the track was.
Goes to show how green the track was, and it's interesting. This is one of the only tracks where you've got the Stadium Super Trucks, and I think them driving a bunch of dirt all over the track, and that Continental tire rubber, which is just a more confusing rubber. When you've got Firestone and IndyCar, you've got Cooper Tires on the Road to Indy, and then you've got the Continental in the Stadium Super Trucks. It kind of just makes a concoction of rubber on the track that's probably pretty confusing.
Sure does. We're used to the Firestone, running on the Firestone with Cooper Tires. It tends to just give us more grip. The Cooper does a really good job, I think, running on other rubbers. But yeah, like you said, the Stadium Super Trucks driving off track, pulling dirt everywhere is not really ideal for a high downforce car that's up against the ground on slick tires. So
no. So we're into the summer swing now. This is usually where you turn up the heat. It's almost, besides USF 2000, Indy Pro, we kind of watched you get to a slow start, hit your summer swing, come through, grab a championship. Indy Lights, it's looking like it's trending that way too. You go to Road America, you go to Mid-Ohio, usually those two tracks are close together. And Kyle Kirkwood is a tough man to beat at those two. What does the rest of the season have in store for you?
Yeah, we said this from, I think, the beginning of the season. We thought we were going to we thought we were going to be stronger at Barber, and we thought we were going to be stronger at Indy GP, and that just wasn't the case. But I know the car is really good at St. Louis. I know the car is really good at Portland, and we feel like we've gotten it in a really good window for Laguna as well, which I think has been a track that is been a little bit of a struggle for Andretti, more so than the other tracks. And the car felt phenomenal when we went and tested their preseason. And then we're back here at Mid-Ohio, which obviously we're pretty strong at. So I think the outlook is quite good.
Awesome. Last question I've got for you. She's your good luck charm, Gigi. Am I saying it right?
Gigi, yeah.
Grandma Gigi. She comes to almost, well, as you quoted, every single Road to Indy race.
Pretty much. She did not come to Detroit, but for the most part, she comes to every single one of them.
And it seems like every race she comes to, Kyle Kirkwood puts it up front. Pretty cool little story. Kyle and I we went golfing earlier this week. Was it on Thursday night?
It sure was.
Thursday night. And
Thursday night.
Kyle actually had to drive to Columbus to go pick Gigi up, get Gigi to the track. And it's cool. My grandmother comes to, when it's not a pandemic, she loves to get out to races. So it's kind of cool to see another grandmother so involved. I'm sure actually my grandmother is watching this broadcast right now. So I'll shout out Donna Setters. I'm sure she'll text me after this. But it's cool to see Gigi come out to the races. She looks like a wonderful woman. I was out spotting in the keyhole. She said hi to me. One of the nicest girls around. And it's cool that you pick her up and treat her so well, Kyle. So that's a little shout out to Gigi for you.
It sure is. Yeah, no, she's
on
great.
the broadcast. Race fans, do not go away anywhere. We've got all 3 rounds, all 3 ladder series racing tomorrow morning on the Road to Indy. We can't wait to get that action underway, and we'll be watching Kyle Kirkwood start second in race 2 in Indy Lights. Best of luck, Kyle.
Thank you, Parker.